What is going on, everybody? It is your boy, your favorite prevention training specialist over at Swab and Chill. It's Daniel J, and you are here for the link Latinx, this wonderful second Tuesday of the month and this Pride Month that we are in. Honey, it is time to talk some realness. But before we do that, we got to give a shout out to the people that help pay the bills, okay? This is a program that is brought to you by Pyro Media Network and APLA Health, as well as the wonderful CDC who helps fund us and give us all that good, great money to do all the good, great work that we enjoy to do. Now, we have a very special co-host with us today, but before I get to that individual, I want to introduce our wonderful regular hosts that are on the show, starting with Roger. Roger, say hi to the people as you look fabulous with this skin.
Hello, everyone. Hi, my name is Roger Cediles. I am the program manager of the substance abuse programs here at APLA Health, and I'm looking forward to have a conversation today about everything that we have prepared for you today. Thank you so much.
He's just so super shy.
Hi, everyone. I'm the prevention training specialist for Project Impact, Nigel. Lovely to be here again.
You better sling this hair, honey. Well, we have a wonderful guest host that's going to be coming on, and they are an incredible energy, an incredible light. They are like the Energizer Bunny. That's what I call them because, honey, I don't think I've ever seen them not at top notch. But why don't we bring on the wonderful, the fabulous Mr. Carlos Ortega.
Hi, how's it going, everyone? My name is Carlos. I'm the prep navigator here at APLA Long Beach. So if you guys ever have questions about prep navigation, I'm your person.
Come on, man. The skin is glowing. The teeth are white. I'm here for it. Okay, look, let's get into it. We have a great, wonderful show. Today we're going to be talking about Pride in the pandemic, navigating trauma and celebration, but from a Latinx perspective, okay? As America prepares for Pride Month, and all of its festivities, honey, we look at how the mental health of the LGBTQIA plus community and the issues intersects with the celebration of the freedom to be who you are, boo-boo. However, what does Pride look like behind a Latin lens? Historically, now we know that Pride hasn't really had our own Latinx community Pride festivities as it pertains to like LA Pride and Long Beach Pride and things of that nature. And how do Latin families, both blood and chosen, navigate LGBTQIA support and trauma while still finding the room to be proud of who we are? And that's going to be our main topic today. But before we get into that, I wanted to take a quick minute and really explain why the Link Latinx is so important. And I want to hear from these wonderful people on camera that you're looking at and seeing these wonderful faces. I think for me, this program is so important. This show is so important because we don't get to hear a lot of information as it pertains to the Latinx community when we're intersecting things like LGBTQIA issues, when we're intersecting things like sexual health, when we're intersecting things just like civil traumas, things happening in our community. So I think this is a great show and platform for us to really discuss that. What about you guys? Why do you feel that the Link Latinx is so important to have? Let's start with you, Nigel.
Okay. I think it's really important because I feel like the focus of the show is to kind of bridge the gap, educating on how for all queer people of color, we have a lot of similar experiences and hardships. And I think it's about just being able to relate to each other.
You better say, he just sound quick with it. He says it and then he stops and he's like, okay, let's go. Carlos, what about you?
I think it's really important for all of us to have an opportunity to have a safe space. I think the word safe space when it comes to just overall queer individuals is very much important. When it comes to even a person of color, it's very important for us to have a safe space, whether it's going to be virtually, physically, or overall, just even mental health and just in general in our own selves. So I think this is going to be a great opportunity from really great providers like y'all for anybody who may need some kind of who can I see, who can I talk to when it comes to overall queer stuff. Mm-hmm.
I'm with it. Roger, what about you? Why is the Link?
Yes, I definitely agree with everything you guys have said. And I think that visibility is important. There are people out there who can relate to our own experiences. Within our Latino community, there are so many differences as well. And so people need to see themselves in stories. And as we address issues that we might have, we also addressing solutions, things that we have found on the way to work on our issues, right? And our problems or whatever. The experiences is so important to me. We're going to go into that later, but I think that it's very important to have a face for our community as well.
And I think the wonderful thing is the faces that you see right now, we all are Latin, but we are different types of Latin. We all have different Latin experiences. I am mixed. I'm Black and Mexican. Roger, what's your ethnic background?
Do you ask me?
What's your ethnic background?
I'm from Nicaragua, and
say it again.
Yeah. So, and I'm a first generation immigrant, and so my experiences are completely different than yours, for example, right? And so, but yeah, I consider myself Latino. I'm a mix of Black, white, indigenous, and so it's Latinos. You know how we are.
And then you see the boy on the dance floor, and you just fall in love. Nigel, what about you? What's your ethnic background?
So I'm Mexican. My family has been here for a couple generations. My grandparents are the ones who actually immigrated to America. So I have a bit different experience. I'm a little bit more Americanized. Racially, I don't know. I'm just that whole big old blend of everything, right? Because I have some relatives that are very, fair-skinned, and some that look more indigenous or in line with what people expect when indigenous. All sorts of stuff.
Cool. Tell us, what about you? What's your ethnic experience, your background?
For myself, I'm Mexican. I always say that because my mom's part Spanish, but I never really emphasize the Spanish part because I feel like a lot of Mexicans say that I'm part Spanish. But at least the Ortega is part Spanish, so there's that. Myself, I was born in Mexico, but I came to the United States when I was 3 months old, and I visited the United States every so often. Or Mexico every so often. So I'm getting very close to my Mexican roots, and I'm very close to my Latin roots as well when it comes to good music, good foods, and stuff like that. But the majority of my life, it was just American stuff and everything like that. But I can speak Spanish. Muy claramente lo puedo hablar, lo puedo leer, y todo eso.
God bless you. No hablo español, por the love of it, okay? That's the only thing I know in Spanish. That's all I can I was speaking. But as you can see, lots of different experiences here, and we are here to share that experience with you, to have conversations with you. So anytime that you see the link Latinx, make sure that you're tuning in and tag your friends, honey, because why? We're fabulous. But we're going to move right on and into my favorite topic or segment of our show is what's poppin'? Honey, we want to know what's happening in the world, what's going on in the community, okay? And right now we know that on June 15th, California specifically is going to be reopening as a state. Businesses are opening back up, and I know a lot of people feel a lot of different ways. Some people are ready for it, some people are not. But Carlos, I want to hear from you. What do you have to say about California, specifically here in Los Angeles, reopening on June 15th?
Yeah. So one of the things I really wanted to focus on was going to be how does not just Carlos feel, but how does my family feel? How does my community feel when it comes to June 15th? And after talking to some of my members from the church, after speaking to my parents and other members as well, I think the majority from what I understand from older folk or just more mature folk is that nervous. I'm still nervous. I really want to wear my mask. I'm not sure what's going on. And these are the same communities that are sometimes unaware of what kind of benefits or resources are out there. As for myself, I'm kind of seeing what is the best way for my community to be out and about on June 15th. Keep in mind, if you want to wear a mask, if you are vaccinated, you are also not. If you are vaccinated, there is locations that you can go to where you don't have to wear a mask. Governor Newsom does mention that. But one of the things that I really want to mention is if you don't feel comfortable, you don't have to. There's a lot of things that are going on in California. One of the things that's happening is going to be LA Pride. Unfortunately, this is going to be the second year where LA Pride is not happening. However, there's still a lot of events going on. Have you guys heard of any of the fun events going on right now or in the future this week?
I haven't heard too many of the, I've seen some of the flyers. But I haven't really gotten into, because I know a lot of them are virtual. Like we're not doing the physical pride, but we're doing a lot of virtual events. Mm-hmm. But I personally, I'm ready for the state to open up because I know that the economy, we need it. But I will definitely still be wearing my mask. I will definitely still be social distancing. I will definitely still have my little travel sanitizer because I don't trust y'all. And y'all was out here acting real raggedy for Memorial Day weekend, honey. All of y'all was running these parties and you live, what did they say? Sowing your wild oats. I don't trust y'all. I don't trust y'all one bit. So I will be out here masked on up. Roger, Nigel, how do you feel about it? Are you ready?
We saw all those snaps. Anyway, I feel like a lot of people don't really know the articulation for this reopening, so I wanted to reiterate. I had just been doing some readings from the LA Times, and they were kind of like explaining how like it's gonna be going down and some like concerns that people were having. So basically, the first point of contention is that they're assuming that people who are unvaccinated, there's going to be a surge of COVID amongst unvaccinated people. So that's what they're expecting as a reopening. So it's very imperative that if you have the opportunity, you go get vaccinated because they're expecting a lot more cases amongst unvaccinated folks. And they're also trying to push more testing for those that aren't going to be vaccinated. So there'll be more testing access for people that choose not to get vaccinated or can't for whatever reason, just to avoid that. And then also, workers will need to mask up indoors and near unvaccinated people. So OSHA has declared that if there is a single employee in any workplace that is not vaccinated, every employee must wear a mask. So encourage your coworkers to get vaccinated so y'all can just see those big, beautiful smiles every day. And then another one is certain locations will still have stricter requirements. So places where a lot of people go, like hospitals, daycare centers, day camps, stuff like that, will still require masks and have stricter guidelines. And finally, businesses can keep their masking requirements. So for you anti-maskers out there who think you can just waltz out there, no, a business still has the right to make y'all wear masks, and they can kick you out if y'all don't follow the rules. So
I would love to see Nigel be the bouncer of a club. No, you can't come in. I'm sorry, that outfit is atrocious. Not today. I don't like your mask. It's too yesterday. You serve. I love it. Well, we are going to move on. I definitely think that the overall consensus is still the same. You guys, we are still in a pandemic. We are still dealing with COVID. COVID is still real. People are still getting sick. Not everybody is vaccinated. Now, I'm not going to sit here and push go get vaccinated. I'm going to say use your wisdom and discernment and make sure that you are as safe as you possibly can be. But we're going to move on to our next topic. Now, as we celebrate Pride, we know most of us are in love with our drag race. I don't know. Trend, it's not a trend, but just a phenomenon that is the drag race. And Spain just launched, premiered on May 30th, their first Drag Race España. And so, Nigel, tell us a little about that, because I know that you watched the first episode, right?
Yeah. So as of now, there are 2 episodes of Drag Race España. I'm making fun of their little accents, because they have that really thick sound, when you speak Spanish.
Nigel, don't get us shut down, okay? We're not trying to go to war with Spain, okay? Don't get us shut down.
It's been really exciting to see. There's a lot of obviously a lot of influence, in Latin America from Hispanic culture. So it's been really interesting. Like the first Millie challenge, they had like bull riding, and they had to do a photo shoot while riding a mechanical bull, and I was like, that's amazing. They would never do that in the U.S. And it's just been really exciting to see. There are Latin American queens as well. There's one queen from Bolivia who I'm personally rooting for. I think she's stunning. Her name is Inti. And I think the show has been doing a really good job of promoting trans identities for Hispanic folk and intersex identity as well. There was a point of contention where Inti was bringing to light the intersex identity, because for a lot of people, I feel like a lot of times people invalidate the non-binary identities because they think people should just exist in one or the other. But and a lot of people's definitions of gender is just based on genitals. But what about people who have both? So it's important that spaces like España are highlighting things, whereas the American version has been very not as progressive on a lot of stuff for a lot of years. So it's great to see a lot of these spin-offs promoting a lot of different identities and cultures and values.
Well, I love to see it. I'm way behind on all things Drag Race. So I mean, when Nigel brought it up in our meeting, I was like, "Child, I have not. I haven't even seen the one in Australia or Canada, whichever that Brooklyn Heights hosts. I haven't even seen that one." But Wanda, have you heard about the España Drag Race? Do you watch Drag Race? What are your thoughts on it?
I have heard of it, but in looking into all of this, when Nigel talked to us about it, I found all these Latino different contests that they sing with their voice and they do imitate the artists, and they're so original and so amazing. So I'm looking forward to watch what Nigel's watching. I have not followed them, but definitely it's exciting to see something in Spanish, see what Latin America can bring to the table, and just enjoy their flavor. You know what I mean? So that's something I'm looking forward to watch. Yes, definitely.
I agree. I think it's going to be fun to see an entire show dedicated to the Latin queens versus being like the one token in like a sea of Caucasian queens. So I'm excited for that. I will definitely have to catch the first 2 episodes because, like I said, she's behind. But we're going to move on to the last topic before we close out what's popping. And this is actually a pretty serious topic that I wanted to talk about. And I wanted to know if any of you have had a chance to read about it. So this morning, there was an article that was put out about Kamala Harris speaking to Latin Americans in regards to migrating to the country. And I'm going to read a little bit of the article from voanews.com. It says U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris emphasized the power of hope Monday, along with new efforts to fight corruption, to persuade Latin Americans to stay home rather than attempt the dangerous migration north to the United States. In her first foreign trip as the U.S. second in command, Harris said at a news conference in Guatemala City that Latin Americans, quote, don't want to leave the country where they grew up, end quote. But she said people in the Northern Triangle countries of Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador, along with Mexico, need economic development that promises a better life than trying to move to the U.S. Harris said, help is on the way. With Washington aid and private investments encouraged by the U.S. government in agriculture, housing, and businesses, we have reason to believe we can have an impact. Now, later on in her speech, she said that she told the people, do not come. We're not afraid to enforce our laws and our borders. And some people felt a ways about that. But, you know, basically, you have one side that says she's telling people, don't make this dangerous journey. Let's fix what's going on in your country so that you can thrive in your country versus coming here. And other people are like, well, that's total BS because I thought that was the purpose of the US of A and this American dream. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
Can I talk about it a little bit?
You absolutely can.
Well, I mean, a lot of the problems and the destabilization in Latin America is America's fault to begin with. So just hearing all this is like super hypocritical and just honestly really infuriating. Like, I understand wanting to like rebuild and develop your own country and make it safer, but like, you know, not everyone is, you know, a soldier or a fighter like that, you know. Sometimes you just want to be safe with your family and want your children to have opportunities and stuff like that. So it's just very like hypocritical and discouraging. And the U.S. has made it its, you know, goal over the last several decades to make it really hard for people who immigrated here to have good lives. So it's just very disheartening to hear all of that.
Okay, we're getting a note from production. Nigel, you have this wonderful, deep, soothing voice, but we need you to project into the mic because you sound a little muffled. So I'm gonna need you to use a little bit of your outside voice so that we can hear, so that people can hear what you're saying. Yes.
Okay.
Go
ahead, Carlos. What are your thoughts on it?
One of the things I really want to emphasize is that for anybody who is seeking asylum, that is 100% one way to come to the United States legally. I want to make sure that we all know what is right and what is legal. Ethically, yeah, maybe if those words were really strong. When it comes to Kamala saying, you know, do not make the trip, you know. But the thing is, as mentioned before, it's not like these people want to leave their country. They're fleeing their country. They're fleeing their country from poverty. They're fleeing their country from violence, corruption, starvation. One of the things that's happening, as mentioned from Nigel, is climate change is happening right now, and our previous administration didn't really want to acknowledge that. And with that being said, now there's a lot more hurricanes happening over there that's affecting their agriculture. That's going to be leading to food starvation. At this point, it's one of those things where we have to realize, as the United States, we have the funds, we have the resources. And at this point, I think those words really felt strong. But I think at this point, it was just more of just to cover themselves and say, like, we're not saying come, but just do not make the trip. You know, we'll help you out. We'll see what we could do. And it's just one of those things where just like, we have plenty of funds. We have plenty of things. What can we do? And I think it's just beginning steps. And I think this is more of a, do not give me a reason. I saw it more as a play, as in, we're not telling them to come. Because I'm pretty sure from a different perspective, if she says otherwise, they're going to say, well, she's inviting them in, you know? So it's kind of one of those things where just like, I think it just saying it as politically correct. However, we have to really acknowledge what's the reason why they're coming. Why are they fleeing? And I think that's very important to look at it when it comes to our Latinx backgrounds of all countries right there.
Roger, what are your thoughts on the issue?
I completely agree with everything you guys have said, and this is very close to my heart because Nicaragua, it's a country that has gone through so many things: hurricanes, earthquakes, government issues, and I remember when I came to United States, I cried so much. I didn't want to leave home. I miss my friends, I miss my family, I miss just everything, my food, everything, and so it's not like you think you're coming here to just live your best life. There are going to be obstacles, you're going to work hard, you're going to have to sacrifice a lot of things, that it's going to be a lonely time, that you're going to be feel like persecuted or that you're doing something wrong. And so it's really painful to leave your country. And so that the fact that she was able to see through that and find that out made me feel like we are in the right hands. Now, the comment that she made, supposedly she made about not afraid to use force or something like that, I watched her speech and she never said that in the whole speech. So I don't know if that was said in a different, place, a different reunion or something like that. But I do agree with Carlos with the fact that she has to make sure that everybody in the country feels comfortable with what they're doing, right? And so it's not like we're inviting everybody to come here and do their thing. It's just that there are going to be regulations. There has to be things that has to be done in-house. There are things that need to be done in those countries in order for people to stop coming to the United States. So it's just we're gonna work with all the issues that are related to it. And one of the other controversial parts about it is that she talked about what's it called? The weather. What is it called?
Climate change.
Yes, yes, yes. And so, and so people are like, oh, that's not a problem, but it is. I mean, that's hurricanes, that's, earthquakes and all of this. And this is why people are leaving. And so if you just don't want to believe that that's a problem in the world, that's just your problem. You know what I mean? But it's happening. It's there. Those are facts. I also did like the fact that she mentioned that some of the issues, right? Corruption, that she mentioned violence, to adults, to the LGBTQ plus community, that she addressed violence and woman trafficking and stuff like that. Like, I mean, those are important issues that are the reasons why people leave, and so and that she was able to see also the opportunity to work with the countries for them to build up, that there are people there that still want to fight the good fight, that still want to work towards, for people not to leave their countries, and so I was really happy to hear all of that.
I think one of the things that's hard for people to hear is just hard truths. And at the end of the day, when we think about America and we think about this ideology that many of us know is really a facade. We know, for those of us who have grown up here, who've lived here, and even those who have come here from other countries, like the American dream that has been, we know it's a lie. Like, we know that it's just not that for everybody. But I do think that there is, from a organizational standpoint, there is something to be said about whether or not we're able to take care of the people that are here that still are displaced from everything that the last administration has done, and then trying to fix that problem and still have all of these new people coming into the country. I mean, there are people that leave LA and go to Texas, and Texas is like, yo, go back home. Like, we can't handle you here. Everybody moving to Texas and Atlanta and Vegas, like, we just can't do it. And so there's a bit of that hard truth there that I think rubs the community the wrong way, because, again, even though we know that it's not as picture perfect as the narrative paints it to be, we still believe in the American dream. We still believe in that freedom. We still believe in being able to come to a country and have better and build better. And we don't want to be told, don't do that. We don't want to be told, don't come here where the opportunities are greater, because that's essentially what people hear. So I'm interested to see how, America and this administration, the Biden-Harris administration, is going to work with these countries if they are promising to send aid and promising them to, help reconstruct their governments and put them in a better space. I'm interested to see how we're going to do that, specifically because, to Nigel's point, honey, we go into a lot of other countries and just make stuff worse.
I can't think of an American regime that has ever made anything better.
I mean, it's just like, what in the world? You know, we go somewhere and people there are like, would y'all please leave? But that is going to be the end of our What's Poppin' segment. We are going to go into our main topic. And our main topic's pretty big because we're talking about LGBTQIA pride, Latin pride, but we're also talking about mental health. So for those of you who don't know, last month in May was National Mental Health Month. This month we know is nationally a Pride Month. And, you know, we discussed several topics about how do Latinx individuals navigate those spaces. And so one of the things that we talked about, I believe it was Nigel or Carlos, brought up this idea of like, you know, we always talk about mental health in this really like low space, negative space. You know, what are some tips for filling my cup? What are some things that I can do in a positive way to keep my mental health as I'm navigating all of these Pride events? And so before we get into that, I do want to ask kind of like a foundational question to everybody. Do you feel like navigating your mental health space while also in a season of being prideful is difficult? And Carlos, let's start with you.
To be completely honest with you, I'm very grateful that I work for a great organization. I'm very grateful for having a great support system with friends, with my family, and everything like that. So in this Pride time that we're going through, I'm very happy. I'm very proudful. As I even have a little bit of a showing off a little
bit. That is so
cute. It matches my eyes.
Yes, darling. My color is in there somewhere too.
But overall, I'm very happy, and in this time, one of the things that I always told myself, even as a kid, I came out in high school when I was in 10th grade, and I wrote it in an article in the column, and the article's name was called "Get It Straight, I'm Not." And you know, I wanted to make sure that if anybody could see Carlos at the time, Carlitos, from that time, I was going to be like, you know what? I'm okay with coming out. I'm okay with my friends, with my family knowing everything. If I could come out and be happy, so can you. So right now, like, I'm very happy, as mentioned, my background when it comes to my friends, my family, my work. In this time of Pride, estoy muy feliz. I'm very happy. I mean, when it comes to just being a queer Latinx individual or Latino, whichever you prefer.
So what are some things that you do to kind of keep your mental space in that positive realm? Like,
oh my God. So one of the first things that I love to do in the morning is going to be just, I wake up and I do my bed. I meditate a little bit, and then I take a hot shower with a little bit of cold at the end, and I just listen to my jams. My good jams that are going to keep me up, that are going to keep me awake, that are going to make sure that I feel productive, that are going to make me feel super. So that's kind of what I've been doing just in general, just as to make myself feel to make myself feel my positive self, at least. So
are you a morning person?
What was that?
Are you a morning person?
Oh, I'm a day and night, any kind of person. I don't drink caffeine. Keep that in mind, y'all. I do not drink caffeine. So me and caffeine.
Natural child. I wish. I couldn't be that way at 7 in the morning. At 7 in the morning, I'd be like, look, don't talk to me yet.
That's hilarious.
Nigel, what about you? What are some things that you do to keep yourself in a positive mental space? And do you find it difficult to navigate that mental space in a time like this where so many people are celebrating Pride? And we know that Pride is very intersectional for some people.
So when I was presenting this topic to everyone, it was because I really wanted to highlight positive psychology. So positive psychology is focused on more about looking at what's fulfilling you in life and what brings you up and what makes you happy in your life, instead of like, what's your trauma, what are you dealing with, how do you get over it? It's just like, what's going good right now? Like, so I like to practice that a lot. I love to practice mindfulness. For those of you that don't know, which is grounded in Buddhism, which is about fixating on what's going well in your life, or if you're ever in an uncomfortable situation, thinking about the positive. Also other concepts like self-empathy, so having kindness for yourself during difficulties or failures is stuff that I really like to preach, and I think is really important, and it's something that I think has really changed my outlook on life a lot recently as I've been learning. And it's been a very difficult journey, but I think I'm much more evolved, of course, than like the younger version of me. The version of me that didn't know about positive psychology.
The younger version of you that was like 10 yesterday? Like, what?
We all have growth. advertise. And then in regards to like the intersectional component of it, I personally don't have any like qualms with it. I'm just one of those people that takes it day by day. I'm just like, it's Pride Month, all right, sure. I'm dealing with 10 other things right now. That's really not like what's present in my mental health. It's like, it's Pride Month. Do I get a day off from work? Like, are we celebrating me? Like, what's filling my cup this month? So just in, past years, it's just me like,
especially because in this field, most times we're working Pride. Like, we're at Pride working.
So it's just like, are the homies going dancing? Like, I don't know. I mean, like,
I find it interesting because in Pride Month, and I'm just gonna say it since ain't nobody else said it yet. So here in Los Angeles, and I'm sure in a lot of other places, when we think about Pride Month, a lot of times it's white pride. Like it's very white. It's very caucus. And we have in Los Angeles a very large Black gay community. There used to be an event called ATV at the beach that I actually was one of my first Pride events, and I talked about that last week on the link with Kai and Ty. But one of the things I have yet to see in my life here in Los Angeles is a set Latin Pride event. Like, I just don't see it. A lot of times we get lumped into the white events, with the white go-go boys, and like it's very that. And so Roger, I want to talk to you a little bit. Like, why do you think that is, specifically here in Los Angeles? Why do you think it's so hard for us to have a Latin Pride presence during Pride Month?
So first, I wanted to say that I think it's important that we still are included in all of these other events and things that happen in the community, But I also think that unfortunately for our Latino community, there has been all this different leadership trying to pull from everywhere to make something happen, and they might have really good ideas, and they might propose really good things. The problem is that we're not supporting each other, and we have to support each other in order for these things to work out, right? And I know it sounds kind of like in a negative tone, but hey, like, let's just get everybody in the table, and let's just agree to who's going to do what, and that's it, and make it happen. I think that's one of the reasons. Also, I mean, we cannot ignore all the taboo and all of the things that celebrating Pride means for a lot of Latinos within our family, within our community, our church, etc. But those are battles that other communities have fight before as well, so we can do it too, And so it's a combination of different things from my point of view, in my experience. But I think that's mainly the reason why. And I think the best Pride we had for like 2-3 years was in front of Circus and Arena, which was big clubs that we had before open. And they closed the whole Santa Monica Boulevard, and they had all these artists in the caravan, and I saw Laura Leon singing, and I saw Marisela singing, and it was so amazing, and it was packed, and it was busy, and it was beautiful, but really, I don't know why it stopped. And so, but it's always this Latinx pride over here, Latinx pride over there, and it's just like a small group of people everywhere. And so, I don't know.
Roger, you can't be telling the kids about circus. They don't know about that. That's a whole different generation.
Oh my God!
They don't even know about what the arena is, child.
What are you trying to share my ears?
Let me put it this way. So circus used to be this huge club that had like 4 or 5 different dance floors, literally isolated from each other. Like, you could go into the salsa room and not hear the hip hop room. You can go in the hip hop room and not hear the pop room. It was huge, and everybody went, but it was primarily Latinx folks, LGBTQIA plus folks in the Latin community, and it was bomb. But we're going to get more into that. We're going to get more into this discussion about navigating Pride as well as mental health, because we definitely want to give you some good tips, some positive tips on keeping your mental health in a positive space. But honey, we got to pay them bills, okay? And we got to do it for the people. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we will continue our discussion about doing Pride in a pandemic. We're going to talk about things like Pride in businesses. Are brands really in support, or is it appropriation at this point? We're going to talk about how to navigate Pride in a virtual space, And of course, we're going to talk about the one thing that we all look for is that family festivity. What are some tools to help Latin LGBTQIA plus allies support their family and friends during this month? All of that right after this commercial break.
Hi, my name is Zero, and I'm a him. And you're probably clicked this video because you're wondering about the U equals U. Undetectable equals untransmittable. These two letters have changed the game for people living with HIV. Oftentimes, people have been afraid of disclosing their status, being intimate, or having been stigmatized for being positive. It's unfair. No one should feel uncomfortable about these things. That's where U equals U comes into play. If you are positive, have been virally suppressed for at least 6 months, and taking your medication, then guess what? The transmission is impossible. Yes, impossible. And if you don't believe me, you can ask the Center for Disease Control. They will back this up and have been since 2017 with hundreds of experts and organizations. Now, what does that mean to be virally suppressed? It means that you have 50 or less copies of the HIV virus per milliliter of blood. Now, I know it's hard to imagine, but that's a tiny amount. Taking your HIV medication daily, without fail, most people are able to become undetectable within 1 to 6 months. Now, we wish we could say everyone is able to reach U equals U status, but we know that sometimes it is harder for other people for different reasons. However, for the majority that do reach undetectable and continue to take their medication daily, there are no risks for transmission. Of course, we encourage safe sex practices because there are other STIs that can be transmitted, but HIV won't be one of them. If you have any other questions or concerns, you can contact us here. Thank you guys for watching.
Welcome back to the Link Latinx every second Tuesday of the month right here at 4:30 on what? Facebook and YouTube. I'm here with Roger, Nigel, and Carlos as we talk about navigating mental health and Pride Month as Latin folks. Now, the first topic that I want to kind of jump into in the second segment is pride in businesses, from Starbucks to McDonald's to Target, everywhere except for Chick-fil-A. We see pride on everything. We see rainbows everywhere. But do we feel like it's a bit of appropriation, or do we feel like these brands really do support the LGBTQIA plus issues that we as people within that community have to face? Roger, let me start with you. What do you feel when you see rainbows and pride on businesses or in certain brands?
You said Roger, right?
I did say Roger.
Okay.
The only person on this panel with an R name.
So for me, actually, I like the fact that we are included now, that we're more visible than before. I hear the other side of the story, right? And I hear that PH, and I hear that we're just being used, kind of a thing, right? Just to make their money, just to make their businesses succeed. But that's what they do with everybody, right? And so in my case, I do like the fact that it's kind of like even pushing other businesses to do the same. And the equality that, at least in my case, I look for comes with that price too, And so sometimes they're gonna think that we're gonna see things happening that we didn't see before. That might seem like it's a negative thing, but it's part of it all. In my opinion, I like the fact that we are included in they're taken as in consideration when before they didn't even care about pride in that little part of LA in West Hollywood. So yeah, that's my opinion.
Nigel, let me ask you, I know that when I go to Target and I see the pride stuff, the t-shirts, the hats, the purses, okay, the accessories, which are my favorite, I enjoy it. But do we care? Even if it is appropriation as businesses, because it's a business and a brand, do we care? or are we just kind of happy that they're supporting us?
I mean, in the institution of capitalism, first and foremost is monetary gain. So like, we are never sorry to get all like, but anyways, like, you know, we're never the forefront. Like, they don't care. Most of these businesses do not give a damn about queer people, and they will constantly give funds or allocate them to people that will fight against their causes. Every business does it. Every business does it. Every business will discriminate against LGBTQ people. All of these large corporations. Also, a lot of that is ugly, so I won't be buying it. And only, well, there's like some models I can get behind. Like, I believe Spotify does like a pretty good job highlighting LGBT voices, because a lot of the times they'll like put on a lot of their prominent playlists a lot of queer, Black and brown artists, and you know, that's helping them get more streams and, you know, helping their bag.
Yeah.
So this Pride Month, give money to queer people. So directly to queer people, support queer people.
If you see a random queer person, drop them $20. Just okay?
I'm gonna start walking in the middle of the street right now.
Carlos, I want to ask you a similar question. Like, one of the things, I don't know if I have any gamers on the panel or if there are any gamers watching. I know one of the games that I love, I absolutely love it. I only play it on the PlayStation. I do not play it on the computer because what they do on the computer is crazy. But The Sims. The Sims has been extremely inclusive of queer identities and queer people in their messaging, but even in like their creation. So when you create a person, you have the option to literally customize everything. Like, they ask you, are you female presenting? Are you masc presenting? Do you sit down when you pee? Do you stand up when you pee? Like, it gives you the ability to really create a person that looks and feels like you in this world. And so when I first bought the game and I saw that, I was like, this is dope. Like, I get with this. I think it's genuine. But then I look at McDonald's or I look at Popeyes and I'm like, I don't really think you give a damn about queer folks trying to sell these fries, despite what your Twitter might say. But Carlos, what about you? Do you feel like it should, let me ask you this. Do you feel like it should matter if businesses really support, or do you just think that the visibility is important enough?
In my opinion, I think it's important that these businesses are having these showcases of pride. We have to start somewhere, whether it's a small ripple. A ripple effect can cause a wave. And with these, I mean, yes, we're calling it out, but that's exactly what we do as consumers. We call them out and change occurs. So at this point, yeah, you could be using that little cheap candle and then, you know, Target could be selling it for $17.95 because it has a small rainbow on it. That's cute. We call you out on that though. So don't, per our reviews, we could leave a really bad review to you, and now you're going to be called out on that. As individuals, we could do that all the time.
But we tweeting about that ass later. Like.
Exactly. You know, one of the things I really want to make sure is that, yes, I love seeing it. You know, I make sure that at least once a month, and then in the 12 months that we have, you're going to be noticing me a lot more. I usually wear like really dark colors or neutral colors. So if I could like sport at least one rainbow one time, I will use it the whole rest of the month. But my point is, I love it. I think it's necessary. It takes, I mean, organizations like Target, as mentioned before, hey, they were the ones who are leading when it comes to trans individuals participating in that. You know, they were leading when it comes to the whole bathroom initiative there too. I mean, these are going to be, Target is going to be really amazing when it comes to leading somewhat in a capitalistic way, LGBTQ. And at this point, as mentioned, I think we really need to focus on not just our big corporations, but actual queer people. So maybe finding those individuals who are really queer creatives, you know, who emphasize and emphasize and project, you know, queer voices a lot. And it's very much needed. And, you know, it's one of those things where maybe if we highlight as consumers a queer creative, maybe those big corporations could be like, you know what, the work that you do is amazing. Can we have your line in our stores? We already have one. Can we showcase you one of these, you know, and I'm just like thinking in the future, but that's the future that I see for my queer self and for my queer children that are going to be happening. Hopefully I have queer children.
I think for me personally, one of the things that I feel two ways about it. On one hand, it's a business. You know, it's an entity that's run by several 100 people at any given time. So on one hand, I don't really care if the business is appropriating or not, because I do believe that visibility is important. And to see queerness in a store, to see queerness on a brand or whatever, it's important. And as we talk about mental health and the positivity of mental health, part of my mental health is knowing that I'm seen. Part of me feeling good about myself is knowing that I'm not the only one, that I'm not in this thing in a silo, that I'm able to see myself in different places in the world, that I'm able to see myself as a brand manager, that I'm able to see myself as a business owner and an entrepreneur, that I'm able to see myself, as a doctor or a lawyer or whatever it is that I want to be. But I also feel like a lot of it is performative. And much like, when we have like Black History Month, when the month ends, then it's like, okay, we move on to the next thing. I do feel like I would love to see more partnership programs from these corporations that do specifically target and promote queer people of color specifically. That's just me, because as a social media personality myself outside of work, when I go onto TikTok and IG and I see all these non-people of color have all of these followings and sponsorships, and their content is really trash. Like it's not good content, but what if a Target had a partnership program where we said, you know what, we're hiring queer people of color, we want to promote your business, we want to promote your brand, and at the end of this course or at the end of this whatever, we're going to put your stuff in our store.
Yes.
I would support that. And I think that shows more so a support of a community versus just slapping a rainbow on something and saying, oh yeah, we're here for Pride Month. Does that make sense?
That's too ethical for capitalism.
Come on, it's too ethical for Well, we need to change how ethical capitalism is, because I do believe, and Carlos, you mentioned this ripple effect. I know sometimes it feels like the machine is too big, but I honestly, to the core of my being, I do feel like one person can make a difference, one person at a time. If I think Tupac said it, I might not be the person to change the world, but I guarantee you I will be the person to influence the person who does.
Yes.
And I think that is a mindset that so many of us should have, or should strive to have, because it's so true. You don't know what your presence in a space can do for that space and can do for someone's mental health. Yes. When I feel seen, when I know that I'm seen and I know that I'm heard and I know that I'm represented, I feel good about myself, and I spread that. It permeates into other spaces. I want to move on a little bit to one of the topic points that we discussed earlier, or not earlier, but that we discussed, which is this idea of family. Pride for a lot of people is a time not only to be proud of who we are, but it's also a time to celebrate with people who identify with us. And I kind of want to do a circle around and hear from you guys in regards to what are some things that allies can do to support their queer family and friends. And Nigel, let's start with you.
Allies, give us money. Honestly, capitalism,
yes.
Remember, just fill my bag, Let me be able to buy all this corporate rainbow-ish, I can't do it. Not on this one. But that, just, I don't know, just being supportive, being educated, don't be ignorant, don't make me answer all your questions. You got Google for that. Like,
come on, yes.
Don't stress me out for the whole month, basically.
Don't stress me. That should go on a t-shirt. Nigel, you should order a t-shirt that says, don't stress me out. And stress should be in pride, rainbow colors. It's like, don't stress me out. Roger, what about you? What are some things that you feel allies can do to support their queer family and friends?
I think they need to be involved in all of these different things that happen throughout the year, not just Pride time. And, there's different organizations like APLA Health or AIDS Project Los Angeles that does the AIDS Walk, for example. And that's something that happened at different times that is not Pride. I think allies, family members need to get really involved if they really want to support us, right? They really need to get involved with everything that benefit us and that make us grow, that make us better. Mental health, since we're talking about that, it's super important and not everybody has access to it. And for Latinos who are Spanish speaking, it's hard to find a good therapist, for example. You know, so I don't know specifically what people can do, but people need to look at the issues and see how can we support the LGBTQ plus community in these areas where they are, you know, struggling. Um, then the other part that I wanted to say that is a little bit off the question though is that it's important for us also to find and to find the support network, the right support network, and build that up around us. Because if we continue just, you know, hanging with everybody that is not helping us and discriminating us and then we're saying it's okay. We're saying, oh, you can do that, and I'm still okay with it. So just my 2 cents.
I
Extra.
rock with it, Roger. I rock with those 2 cents, and I add a quarter to it. Carlos, what about you? What are some things that you feel people who want to be allies, or who, you know, are allies? What are some things that they should know in regards to really supporting their queer family and their friends?
I mean, I'll use my example. I mean, I just talked to some of my girlfriends. I talked to some of my friends. I just talked to my family, and I was kind of just letting them know, like, hey, sometimes, I mean, it's an identity that I wear and that that is mine, being a queer Latinx individual. But sometimes you just forget, and it's kind of just like, oh my God, we should probably go to more gay-owned restaurants. We should probably go to more queer-owned restaurants. We should probably go and support those businesses. And by the way, did you know that this resource was happening? And I just had that conversation over dinner, with a girlfriend. And, it's one of those things where just like, even though she does not identify as LGBTQ, but she is an ally because she's my friend. And I really wanted to make sure that as a friend, hey, I need your support because my community needs your support. And I don't think you understand what kind of, difficulties we're going through. And it's new conversations. It's conversations that are being reiterated, but it's needed because, I mean, if I'm talking to my friend who may not be part of the LGBTQ, but if anything, this new conversation with them can be a new conversation with them and others, who are not with Carlos around. So I always try to make sure that my friends who are not LGBTQ still realize it's not easy being gay. Just because I'm smiling, just because I'm out and about and I have a great organization that supports queer individuals. We're still in LA County. We're still in LA. We're still in California. You have to realize that it doesn't end here. It doesn't end at my seat because that's all you see so far. We have to realize that it's going to be more than just, yes, queen, and that there's more than just that. Okay, yes, queen, as I perhaps. But I mean, my emphasis is going to be, just reiterating to your ally friends or just your, hetero friends, making sure that it's going to be known. Hey, Pride Month happens once a year, but the struggle doesn't end there. And that's just one of those things where just letting them know there's resources there. We should probably support other organizations, things like that. I think is going to be polishing and giving the tools to success to an ally as to being a really great ally in general.
Well, I want to thank you all for your input, for your thoughts. I'm going to say for me, support is all inclusive. There are people that are in my life that I really, really love, but you can't support me and not support the community that I belong to. You can't be cool with me and then bash the community that I belong to. And so I have learned within the last few years to really hold the people that are in my circle, that I hold, that say they love me. They're required to support what I belong to in some way. If they know that I am a queer person and they go out and vote against a right that's going to impede my ability to live, I have to reevaluate our friendship. I have to put you in another space because that means that you're making decisions that go against my ability to live. And so if you call yourself an ally, if you want to be an ally, I think the most important thing, and Nigel said it earlier, do your research first, then come to your friend that you trust and ask informed questions, so that you get a better understanding. But understand that your queer friends are not your queer encyclopedia. They're not your go-to, your end-all and be-all for queer information. You gotta do most of the work on your own. We're here to help guide you, but you gotta wanna do most of the work on your own. I want to thank everybody on the panel, Nigel, Roger, Carlos. It has been amazing to do this show with you guys today. Again, if you are interested in seeing more episodes of The Link Latinx, make sure that you go to our APLA Health Prevention Department page on YouTube as well as Facebook and catch all of those episodes on those pages, on those platforms. Make sure you join us next week when Kai will be back and Ty will be back, and I will be here as we talk about Pride Then. We will be sitting with the Director of Prevention Services, Terry Smith, as he has a conversation about what Pride used to be like and what his experience with Pride used to be. All of that right here on The Link at 4:30 every Tuesday. And for my Latinx folks out there, make sure that you add us, because every second Tuesday of the month, guess what? We're right here. Shout out to APLA Health, the CDC, and Pyro Media Network. This has been another wonderful episode of The Link. And until next time, we'll see you guys later. Bye!